Most people over 60 believe the warning signs of serious illness always arrive loudly. They imagine sharp chest pain, dramatic collapses, or unbearable symptoms that force immediate attention. But what frightens many doctors is that some of the most dangerous health problems after 60 often begin quietly. The body whispers long before it screams. A little extra fatigue in the morning, mild dizziness after standing, shortness of breath while walking to the mailbox, slight swelling in the feet, moments of confusion that seem harmless at first. Many seniors dismiss these changes because they happen gradually. They assume it is simply part of getting older. But sometimes these tiny warning signs are the body's desperate attempt to prevent something far more serious from happening later. Every morning across America, millions of older adults wake up believing they are functioning normally, while hidden damage quietly builds inside the body. Blood pressure rises, circulation weakens. Inflammation spreads silently through blood vessels. The heart works harder. Oxygen delivery becomes less efficient. Yet, because these changes happen slowly, the body adapts to them over time. This is exactly why so many people are shocked when they suddenly experience a stroke, heart attack, dangerous fall, or medical emergency, despite feeling relatively fine only days before. One 72-year-old man believed his exhaustion came from aging. Every morning he woke up tired no matter how long he slept. Walking upstairs became harder. He occasionally felt pressure in his chest, but it disappeared quickly, so he ignored it. Sometimes he became dizzy after standing too fast. His family encouraged him to see a doctor, but he insisted everything was normal for his age. Then one morning, while making coffee in his kitchen, his vision blurred, his legs weakened, and he collapsed onto the floor before he could even call for help. Stories like this happen far more often than people realize. And one of the biggest reasons is because many seniors have been taught to normalize symptoms that should never be ignored. Society constantly tells older adults to expect weakness, exhaustion, forgetfulness, stiffness, poor sleep, and declining energy. While aging does change the body naturally, dangerous symptoms are not always harmless signs of getting older. Sometimes they are early warnings that the body is under enormous strain. What makes this especially dangerous after 60 is that recovery becomes slower with age. The cardiovascular system becomes more sensitive. Blood vessels lose flexibility. Muscles weaken more easily. The brain becomes more vulnerable to reduced circulation. This means problems that once seemed minor in younger years can become far more dangerous later in life. The body may still be resilient, but it becomes less forgiving when warning signs continue being ignored. One of the earliest symptoms many seniors overlook is unusual fatigue. Not normal tiredness after a long day, persistent exhaustion that feels heavier than before. Some people wake up exhausted, even after sleeping for hours. Others lose energy halfway through simple daily tasks that once felt easy. They assume the body is simply slowing down with age. But persistent fatigue may sometimes signal reduced circulation, poor sleep quality, heart strain, blood sugar problems, or hidden inflammation building inside the body. Another warning sign many older adults dismiss is dizziness. A brief dizzy spell after standing may seem harmless in the moment, but repeated dizziness can sometimes reflect dehydration, blood pressure problems, circulation issues, medication side effects, or reduced oxygen delivery to the brain. This becomes particularly dangerous because dizziness dramatically increases the risk of falls. And after 60, a serious fall can completely change a person's independence, mobility, and quality of life almost overnight. Shortness of breath is another symptom people frequently normalize for far too long. Many seniors stop walking as much because they quietly notice breathing becoming harder. They avoid stairs. They sit down more often. They reduce physical activity without fully realizing why. Slowly, the body adapts to a smaller and smaller lifestyle. But unexplained shortness of breath may sometimes signal heart strain, poor circulation, lung problems, or weakening cardiovascular function. The frightening part is that many people adjust their lives around symptoms instead of investigating what caused those symptoms in the first place. Swollen feet and legs are another quiet warning sign many older adults ignore for months or even years. Some assume swelling comes from standing too long or simple aging, but persistent swelling may sometimes reflect circulation problems, heart strain, kidney issues, or poor blood flow returning through the body. Tight shoes at the end of the day, socks leaving deep marks on the skin, or legs that feel unusually heavy should never be dismissed automatically. The body often reveals deeper cardiovascular stress through these subtle physical changes long before a major event occurs. Even changes in memory or mental sharpness can sometimes reflect underlying health problems. Many seniors fear dementia, but fewer people realize that poor sleep, reduced circulation, chronic stress, dehydration, blood sugar instability, and high blood pressure may also affect concentration and memory over time. Some older adults begin forgetting names, losing focus during conversations, or struggling with simple decisions. They laugh it off as senior moments, but the brain depends heavily on healthy blood flow and oxygen delivery. When the body struggles silently, the brain often feels the effects early. Perhaps the most dangerous mindset after 60 is believing symptoms must become unbearable before they deserve attention. The body rarely works that way. Most serious illnesses begin quietly. They develop through repeated stress, silent inflammation, poor recovery, dehydration, inactivity, and ignored warning signs that slowly grow worse over time. Many seniors spend years waiting for dramatic symptoms before taking action. But the healthiest older adults often do the opposite. They pay attention early. They notice subtle changes. They ask questions before problems become emergencies. Because after 60, protecting health is rarely about fear. It is about awareness. The body sends signals about what it needs, but those signals are easy to miss when unhealthy symptoms become normalized through stress and exhaustion. Another sign seniors should never ignore is waking up every morning already feeling stressed before the day even begins. Many older adults believe emotional stress only affects the mind, but chronic stress can place enormous pressure on the entire cardiovascular system. The body was designed to handle short bursts of stress temporarily, not endless tension repeated day after day for years. Yet millions of seniors wake up immediately worrying about finances, health problems, loneliness, family struggles, or frightening news headlines before they even step out of bed. The nervous system instantly shifts into survival mode. Stress hormones rise, blood vessels tighten, heart rate increases, blood pressure climbs. Over time, this constant pressure may quietly damage arteries, weaken sleep quality, and increase the risk of serious health complications. What makes emotional stress especially dangerous after 60 is that the body recovers more slowly than it once did. Younger bodies often compensate more easily for sleepless nights, anxiety, dehydration, or unhealthy routines. But aging changes how efficiently the body repairs itself. This means stress that once felt manageable decades earlier may create far greater physical consequences later in life. Some seniors even notice their symptoms becoming worse after emotional events. Arguments, grief, fear, or prolonged anxiety may trigger headaches, chest tightness, exhaustion, dizziness, digestive issues, or sudden spikes in blood pressure. Yet many people continue treating emotional stress as if it has nothing to do with physical health. Poor sleep is another warning sign many seniors normalize for far too long. Some wake up repeatedly throughout the night. Others sleep for 8 hours but still feel exhausted every morning. Some snore heavily, stop breathing briefly during sleep, or wake up gasping without understanding why. This matters because the body repairs itself during quality sleep. The heart slows down, blood pressure stabilizes, stress hormones decrease, inflammation reduces. But when sleep becomes poor night after night, the cardiovascular system may remain trapped in a constant state of strain without proper recovery. Sleep apnea is one of the most overlooked dangers after 60 because many people do not realize they have it. During sleep apnea, breathing repeatedly stops and starts during the night, reducing oxygen levels and forcing the heart to work harder for hours while the person sleeps. Some seniors only notice symptoms indirectly. They wake up with headaches. They feel exhausted throughout the day. They become forgetful or irritable. They rely heavily on caffeine to function each morning. Over time, untreated sleep apnea may contribute to rising blood pressure, heart strain, irregular heartbeat, and increased cardiovascular risk. Another warning sign seniors should never ignore is chest discomfort that appears mild or inconsistent. Many people assume heart problems always feel dramatic, but some cardiovascular symptoms are surprisingly subtle. Pressure in the chest, tightness in the jaw, burning sensations mistaken for indigestion, pain in the shoulders, neck, or upper back, sudden sweating, nausea, unusual fatigue. These symptoms may come and go quietly, making them easy to dismiss. Women especially may experience symptoms differently than men, which causes many warning signs to be overlooked completely until a major emergency occurs. The frightening truth is that the body often gives small warnings long before catastrophic events happen. The problem is that repeated exposure to symptoms slowly changes what feels normal. A person who feels mildly exhausted every day eventually forgets what healthy energy feels like. Someone living with chronic stress may no longer recognize how tense their nervous system has become. A senior experiencing poor circulation may gradually reduce activity levels without consciously noticing their physical decline. The body adapts quietly while underlying damage continues progressing beneath the surface. This is exactly why prevention matters so much after 60. The healthiest seniors are rarely the people who never experience symptoms. They are usually the people who respond early instead of waiting until problems become severe. They notice changes in energy, balance, sleep, breathing, circulation, and emotional health before those issues spiral into larger medical crises. They understand that small daily habits influence long-term health outcomes far more than occasional extreme efforts. Many older adults believe protecting health requires complicated routines, expensive supplements, or punishing exercise programs. But some of the most powerful habits are surprisingly simple. Drinking water after waking, walking daily, sleeping more consistently, reducing chronic stress, eating more natural foods, staying socially connected, moving throughout the day instead of sitting for hours. These habits may appear ordinary, but repeated consistently, they create a dramatically healthier environment inside the body over time. And perhaps the most important truth of all is that the body still responds to support later in life. Many seniors wrongly believe it is too late to improve once symptoms appear, but the human body remains remarkably adaptive, even after decades of unhealthy patterns. Better sleep may improve energy within weeks. Gentle movement may improve circulation surprisingly quickly. Hydration may reduce headaches, fatigue, and dizziness. Lower stress may stabilize blood pressure and improve emotional well-being. The body may age, but it still fights constantly to heal when given the opportunity. One of the clearest differences between healthy seniors and struggling seniors is awareness. Healthy older adults do not ignore warning signs simply because symptoms appear slowly. They respect changes inside the body before those changes become emergencies. They understand that independence depends heavily on daily physical function. The ability to walk confidently, think clearly, sleep peacefully, breathe comfortably, and maintain steady energy is deeply connected to cardiovascular health. Once these abilities begin declining, quality of life often changes rapidly. That is why paying attention early matters so much. A tiny symptom ignored repeatedly can eventually become a life-changing crisis. But a tiny symptom addressed early may prevent years of unnecessary suffering later. The body speaks quietly at first. Seniors who learn to listen carefully often give themselves the greatest chance to remain active, capable, independent, and emotionally strong far longer than expected. And sometimes the smallest daily choices quietly determine whether the future becomes weaker, healthier, fearful, or more independent. Perhaps the most dangerous thing about serious health decline after 60 is how slowly it often happens. Many seniors do not wake up one morning suddenly unhealthy. The body usually changes little by little. A little less energy, a little more stiffness, a little more dependence on caffeine, a little less movement, a little more shortness of breath. These tiny changes seem harmless because they develop gradually, but over time, the body quietly adapts to lower standards of health until exhaustion, weakness, poor circulation, and rising blood pressure begin feeling normal. This is why so many older adults become trapped inside routines that slowly damage the cardiovascular system without realizing it. They wake up stressed, they sleep poorly, they sit too long, they drink more coffee than water, they move less every year. They ignore symptoms because nothing feels dramatic enough to demand immediate action. Meanwhile, the heart continues working every second of every day under increasing strain. One of the clearest examples is how many seniors slowly lose physical strength without understanding how deeply it affects overall health. Muscle is not only important for appearance or mobility. Muscles help support circulation throughout the body. Every step, stretch, and movement helps blood flow more efficiently through arteries and veins. But when activity levels decrease, circulation often weakens too. The body becomes stiffer, walking feels harder, fatigue increases, blood pressure problems may become more common. Yet many people assume this decline is simply unavoidable aging, instead of recognizing how strongly inactivity contributes to the problem. Another issue many seniors never expect is how dangerous isolation can become for physical health. Loneliness does not only affect emotions. Chronic isolation may increase stress hormones, worsen sleep quality, reduce physical activity, and increase inflammation throughout the body. Some older adults spend entire days speaking to almost nobody. They sit alone with their thoughts, worries, and fears while stress quietly builds inside the nervous system. Over time, emotional strain may affect the heart just as powerfully as unhealthy physical habits. This is one reason some seniors remain remarkably healthy well into their 70s and 80s, while others struggle much earlier. The healthier individuals often maintain movement, routines, purpose, social connection, and emotional balance even during difficult periods of life. They continue supporting the body instead of abandoning it. Is not built through one perfect decision. It is built through repeated daily choices that either strengthen the body gradually or weaken it silently over time. One encouraging truth many people need to hear is that improvement can begin surprisingly fast once healthier habits become consistent. A senior who starts walking every morning may notice better energy within weeks. Someone who hydrates properly may feel less dizziness and fatigue. Better sleep may improve memory, mood, and blood pressure stability. Reducing constant stress exposure may calm the nervous system more than most people expect. The body constantly responds to the environment created inside it. This is why awareness matters far more than fear. Fear alone often causes paralysis. Some seniors become so frightened about aging that they stop living fully. They obsess over symptoms, constantly expect disaster, and remain trapped in anxiety that only creates more stress inside the body. But awareness creates action. Awareness encourages healthier routines before emergencies occur. Awareness helps people recognize warning signs while meaningful improvements are still possible. The truth is that the body after 60 still wants to survive, adapt, and heal. The heart continues beating faithfully through stress, exhaustion, grief, poor sleep, and years of neglect without ever resting for a single moment. The question is whether daily habits are finally supporting that effort or quietly making the burden heavier every year. Imagine two futures beginning from the exact same morning tomorrow. One senior wakes up already anxious, immediately reaches for a phone, drinks coffee without water, remains seated for hours, ignores fatigue, avoids movement, and dismisses symptoms once again. Another wakes up calmly, drinks water first, opens the curtains, breathes deeply, walks slowly outside, notices changes inside the body carefully, and chooses healthier patterns consistently. At first, the difference between those mornings appears tiny, but years later, the difference may become impossible to ignore. One future may lead toward worsening circulation, greater dependence, rising blood pressure, weaker mobility, repeated medical problems, and growing fear. The other may lead toward greater energy, stronger balance, clearer thinking, healthier circulation, emotional stability, and longer independence. This is how health after 60 often works. Life-changing outcomes are usually shaped quietly through ordinary routines repeated long enough to matter. Perhaps that is the most important lesson of all. Seniors should never ignore the signs their body gives them, because the body is constantly communicating what it needs. Fatigue is communication. Dizziness is communication. Poor sleep is communication. Swelling is communication. Shortness of breath is communication. Chronic stress is communication. The body whispers first because it hopes small changes will happen before larger damage occurs. And while aging is inevitable, unnecessary suffering is not always inevitable. Many older adults dramatically improve their quality of life once they stop normalizing harmful symptoms and begin supporting the body more intentionally. Better hydration, more movement, reduced stress, improved sleep, healthier mornings, more awareness, more connection. These simple actions may not look dramatic on the outside, but inside the body, they create a completely different future. Your body has carried you through every chapter of your life. After 60, perhaps the greatest act of wisdom is finally listening when it asks for help, instead of waiting until the whispers become emergencies. Because in the end, the seniors who remain strongest are rarely the ones who never face health struggles. They are usually the ones who notice problems early, respond consistently, and refuse to surrender to unhealthy patterns. Every calm morning, every step, every glass of water, every hour of sleep, and every moment of movement becomes another investment into future independence. Sometimes the smallest choices protect the heart more powerfully than people imagine.